Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering, your home for real nuts and bolts guitar learning. This session, we're talking about jazz and jazz guitar. If you like kind of the rich harmonies of jazz, then stick around because we're going to be talking about turnarounds, which is a very common little part of jazz music. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to teach you 20 fantastic turnarounds that you can use in your own playing, and we're going to talk about how to make your own and how to incorporate and get the jazz sounds that you're looking for. There is a PDF that goes along with this lesson, so you can just click the link in the description below, and that will get you to the PDF for this session. Make sure and download that, have that in front of you. That'll be easy to follow along. All right. Turnarounds. What are turnarounds in jazz? Well, in jazz, as you're going throughout a song, there are points right before that you go back into a new section of the song that you have usually 2 bars. And those 2 bars are kind of a launch pad to get you back into the previous section of the song. After you've played the melody, you're going to go into the solos, or after the solos, you're going to go back into the melody. There's usually 2 bars right there that kind of serve as the launching pad to get you back into the new section. That's a very special thing in jazz. That's called the turnaround. And what the turnaround is, it's usually 2 bars, usually about 4 chords, and it's a moment, 2 measures long, of absolute creativity. So it's not one progression, it can be a number of progressions, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The first bar of our 2-bar turnaround is usually something that has to do primarily with the tonic, the 1 chord in the key. The second bar of our 2 bars usually has more of a dominant 5-chord sort of a feel to it. Okay, so the first bar is kind of a tonic feel. The second bar is sort of a dominant feel. All right, there's a couple, before we get into our 20 different chord progressions that you could use for turnarounds, I want to talk about some of the basic concepts of that. So if you look on your PDF there, a basic turnaround in jazz would be, let's say, maybe a 1, 6 minor, 2 minor, and a 5. That sort of a feel. So if we switch that into the key of G, which is what my examples are down here, we end up with the chords. I'm going to add some sevenths on it, so it makes it sound a little bit jazz here. We've got a G major 7th. I've written all of the chord shapes that I'm going to be using in the PDF down here. So when we get into the actual turnarounds, you're going to be going through a lot of new chords, and it gives you an opportunity to really learn some new shapes. There's the 1 in the key of G. The 6 minor is a E minor 7th in the key of G. The 2 minor would be the A minor 7th. The 5 chord would be a D7. If you're a little fuzzy on what I'm talking, what on earth are you talking about? The 1, 6 minor, 2, and 5. There's a series that we finished up just a little bit ago called How Music Works, and that will explain what these chords are. But basically, in any key, you can build chords off of each step of the scale. The chord built off of the first step of the scale ends up being a major. If I go into a 4-note chord, it'd be a major 7th. The 2 usually is a minor 7th. 3 is a minor 7th. 4 is a major 7th. 5 is a dominant 7th. 6th is a minor 7th. 7th is a half diminished. And then we have the 8, which is the same as the 1. So we're dealing with basically 4 chords out of that. 1, 6 minor, 2, and 5, which would be G in the key of G, E minor, A minor 7th, D7. So that would be a typical, if I had a jazz song in the key of G, that would be the turnaround. A great little turnaround, but you can do many, many different things with it. So even if I just started to add a few little chord substitutions, if you look at the bottom of page 1 there, instead of the 6 minor, I'm going to substitute in a diminished chord, going a half step below, going to that 2 minor in the second bar. So I end up with a G major 7th, G sharp diminished, A minor 7th, D7. Sounds slightly different from our 1, 6 minor, 2, 5. When I add that diminished chords are good connecting chords. They're good for approaching a target chord, in this case the 2, from below. You can even approach it from above. We'll get to that in a second. All right, take a look at the next page, page 2. Now we're going to change a few of these chords. Instead of an E minor, I'm going to make that an E dominant 7th, which kind of functions like the 5 of an A. And the A, instead of being an A minor, I'm going to make that an A dominant 7th, which is functioning like the 5 of the D. D7, which is functioning like the 5 of the G. So it's this chain. It's this chain of dominant 7th chords. And hear how that changes our turnaround. Okay. Sounds great. So another way to do it. These little turnarounds are something, if you're playing any sort of jazz gig, you're going to play these all the time in every song. And so the amount of creativity that you can bring to these is part of the game. It's part of your game as an accompanist. Now, some of these I'm giving you are going to be basic, simple ones. Others we're going to go out in the harmonic spectrum a little bit, and we're going to expand our harmonic range a little bit with them. But it's just 2 bars that I can start throwing in some creativity. So, and it's not just for the chords. You know, here's another thing. If I'm soloing over a turnaround, I could solo over this chord progression that I am making up. There, I soloed over the top progression on top of page 2 with the dominant 7ths. Let's take a look at the next one. Another option that I can do is start adding color tones. Color tones, the 9ths, the 11ths, the 13ths. Those are all color tones. Think of them like a Christmas tree, and these are ornaments on the Christmas tree. So the root of the tree is still a G major, but I'm just going to turn that into maybe a G major 13th. The E minor, I'm going to turn into an E minor 9th. So over that E minor tonality, now I'm just kind of hanging an extra ornamental note, that 9th. Over the A minor, I'm going to make him into an A minor 9th. Over that D, I'm going to turn him into a D 13th. Now, some of these shapes may be new to you. That's why I'm giving them. That's why I wrote it out to you, just to give you some more options. You don't have to learn every stinking one of them, but try and expand your chord vocabulary a little bit. Hey, you want to be a chord genius? All you need to know is about 3 more chords than the guitar player sitting next to you, and then you're going to be a guitar chord genius. So just grab a few of these forms on these progressions that you like. Here's that example again. Already kind of getting a little bit more jazzy sounding. Now, I can add ornaments like that, but I can also add ornamentation that is out of the key. Every note that we had there was in the key, but now we can start to add maybe some notes that are not in the key. So if I change keep the G13th, but maybe do an E7 with a flat 9, that F natural kind of pulls down to that A minor, the E and the A minor 7th. And then I have this D7 flat 9, down to a G major 7th. So if we play that one, I got a little melodic line there in my upper notes if I'm paying attention to the voice syncing. Okay, and you can create these little lines as you're playing. So we've added some ornamentation now. We've added some color tones, those within the scale and those outside of the scale. Another thing that you can do is you can add bass movement, okay? So here's one of the tricks. I'll be mentioning several tricks along the way. Another trick, other than ornamentation, that you can do is do some simple chord substitutions. The 3 chord is often substituted for the 1. So instead of that G major 7th, I can throw in a B minor. And then I have a B flat minor 7th, which is just kind of going down a half step. Going down to the 2, there's the A minor 7th to the D 7th to the G major 7th. So I'm just going down. Now you would think, oh my goodness, that B flat minor 7th, that has nothing to do with anything. But your ear doesn't freak out at that, hearing that at all. It's just a passing chord to get you down there. Okay, take a look at the top of page 3. Another way that I can do it is by moving that bass in sequential places. So if I'm doing, let's say maybe a G7th, that's going to be my home bass, my 1. Well, what if I just went 3 steps away and then walked my way back? There, did the same thing. I just went up and worked my way back. The 2 then ended up being a dominant. The A flat 7th, I'm substituting that for the D 7th. But Steve, how can you do that? How can you substitute an A flat 7 for a D 7th? Well, wait a minute. An A flat 7, that's an A flat, a G flat, or an F sharp, and a C natural. Well, the notes in a D 7th are a D, F sharp, and a C, so it's good. It's 2 of the 3 notes are the same. So you can do this little tritone substitution, they call that. So that progression sounds like this. Another great little turnaround. So we can add ornamentation, we can add bass movement. Another third trick I'm going to show you is we can make common tones. Now, what common tones are is having certain tones that stay in each of the 4 chords, or 3 or 4 of the 4 chords, in our turnaround. And there I can get then all kinds of creativity, but it doesn't sound weird because I've got this common tone that is linking through all of them. Take a look at that progression, the middle progression on page 3. Okay, 4 of those chords, all except for the last one, had the high G as the highest note. There you go. Now, even though I went through, gosh, an E flat and an A flat and a B flat, all those along the way, that didn't sound as weird as it should have because I kept that common tone. So that's a trick too. So we've learned about chord tones, adding ornamentation with ones that are in the key, ones that are not in the key. We've learned about bass movement. Sometimes just the pattern of a bass line can tie different chords together. And I've also learned that common tones can tie some notes together. All right, those are our 3 tools in our toolkit. Are you ready to go? Let's go. Let's learn 20 fantastic jazz guitar turnarounds. Now, I put them in various keys, in various parts of the neck, I tried not even to duplicate chords because I wanted to show you lots of different chords that you can use. So here's the first one. Take a look at number 1. This is in the key of C. The first few are going to be in the key of C. 5-string root. Okay, I'm going to use this basic shape. In the key of C, a 1-6 minor 2-5 would be a C, A minor 7th, D minor 7th, G 7th, and then a C major 7th. So this is number 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds very common. Sounds very stable. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Didn't stretch the ear at all. That's a good standard 1-6, 2 minor 5. Well, what else can we do with that? Well, if I add some color tones to it, take a look at number 2. I turn that C major 7th into a C major 9th. The A minor 7th, hey, I turn into a fancy A minor 9th. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, folks. Learn that one. Okay, that's a really hip. Anytime you have to play an A minor, you can slip that A minor 9th in them, and it sounds cool. Instead of the D minor 7th, I made a D minor 11th, just adding color tones. And then over the G7, I turn that into a G13th suspended. But Steve, I don't know all these chords. Great, that's why I put them in there. So you can learn, that I can substitute over a G7th. I could throw in this just G13 suspended with that open E there. So now look what's happening in the melody notes of each of those 4 chords. I have a high G for the C major 9th. I have an open E for the C A minor 9th. I have a high G again for the D minor 11th, and then an open E for the G13 suspended. Sounds like this. This is number 2. 2, ready, and... There you go. And the common notes that are bouncing forth in the melody is giving some connection to all of that. Take a look at number 3. Okay, I can remember how we use the diminished chords to get to our target chord. Well, look at this one. If I'm trying to get to the target chord in the key of C, the 2 minor would be the D minor 7th in the second bar. And instead of going from the underneath it, I can also approach it from the top. So let's hear how that sounds. This would be like, this would be number 3. See, I could have just as easily put in a C sharp diminished instead of that E flat diminished. It would have sounded like this. Here's the E flat diminished. Each of these is just twisting the tonality just a little bit. It's like, think of it like a basketball game and a basketball team. The goal is to get the basket, but how you do that, how you get to the basket is where the magic happens. And that's what's happening here in jazz, and here it's reflected in these little turnarounds. The goal is to get back to 1. That's all that's happening here. But the magic is how we wind our way back to the 1. That's where the magic happens. Take a look at number 4. This one, I add some augmented chords. The augmented chords function like 5s of the chord that they're going to. So the D minor in the second bar, the 5 of a D would be an A 7th. If I, add some color tones to that, I can make it A augmented. Same thing with the G augmented. That's the 5 of the C that's coming. So I end up with a progression that sounds like this. I also have a little melody line that's going down. Da, 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 da. A very cool little progression. You add some groove to that. Now, you can do turnarounds in major, but you can also do turnarounds in minor, too. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, if I have a song that is maybe in a minor key, and let's say we're in the key of C minor, all right? So we're going to be in C minor here. Okay, so now we're in C minor. But I can also do a 2-5 there, but it changes a little bit when I'm in a minor tonality. The 2 becomes not a minor 7th, but a half diminished, a minor 7 flat 5. The 5 can still be a 5, but a lot of times it turns into an augmented. So if I get the 1, the 2 minor 7 flat 5, augmented, down to the minor 7. So let's throw in one more. The 6 minor would not be an A minor. In a minor key, it would be an A flat, the flatted 6th, major 7th. Okay, I added a flat 9 there on that augmented flat 9, just to give it a little bit more tension. Down to the C minor 9th. Take a look at the next page, number 5. Okay, now we're going to switch to the key of G, just to give some different ones. And these are on the 6th string root on these. So one of the things we can do is have a G major 7th. This is standard 1, 6 minor 2, 5, but like we did in our introduction, we throw that little diminished in there. Then I have the A minor, the 2 minor, and then the D13th. Now notice that those first 3 chords in number 6 all have a D as the highest note. Okay? A very melodic sort of progression. Take a look at number 7. I can also approach chords from underneath and above. I did it with diminished chords, but you can also do it with other chords too. It just, you don't have to really worry about, oh my goodness, it's not going to match, because it's just a passing chord. It's just a chord you're going to be on for a second and go to somewhere else. So, and a way to do that is, look at this one. I've got number 7, G6, 9, and then I'm going to give kind of a B flat sort of a chord, B flat 9th with a flat 5. That's going to get us down to that A minor 7th. And then I'm heading towards a G major 7th, so I'm going to throw an A flat major 7th. But just for good measure, I'm going to add the flat 5 in there, which is a note that's in the D chord or in the G chord. All right, so this, we're starting to get a little bit harmonically rich here. This is number 7. Go. Ooh, starting to get some color in there. Come on now. We're getting away from G, C, and D, all right? We're getting into some jazz chords. Take a look at number 8. Now, I'm going to use a common tone. All right. A common tone to hold these chords and ideas together. So, if I have a G major 9th, with a D as the highest note, look at the B flat major 7th. Now, wait a minute. Why on earth is that B flat there? Why is that B flat there? Well, remember, we were using the B flat as a jump to the target chord of the 2. Okay, so we had used that actually in the previous one. We had a B flat in that position. I'm just turning it into a major 7th. But, oop, fool you, I did not go to the 2. I went to the E flat major 7th. Ooh, oops, and then for that 5, I did the A flat major 7th, which we did in the previous one, okay? So we end up with a chord change that sounds like this. Oh man, that's some smooth playing there with I'm messing around with those tonalities. So don't freak out. It seems like, Steve, you could play whatever you wanted to there. Yeah, there's a few rules, but there's a lot of ways I can get that basketball to the basket, and it's all about how colorful I can get my way there. Take a look at number 9. Remember how I said you could substitute the 6 for the 1, or the 3 for the 1? Here's that. B minor 7th. Hey, and then we did a dominant of the 2, the 5 of the 2, which is an E 7th, but I'm going to put a B in the bass. Then the 2, the A minor, the 5, the D 7, but I keep the A in the bass. So that sounds like this. So do you see how these, even though it's not going the same direction every time, it always lands in the same place. And that's the beauty of it. Sometimes I can take a shot over here. Sometimes I can take a shot over here. Sometimes I could go behind my back and pass it over there. That's all that's going on there. And these similar type of shape of chords, these shell chords as we call them in jazz world, those, because they're similar voicings, that doesn't bother the ear too much at all. Moving on, number 10, let's do one in minor. We've done them in major, let's do them in G minor. Well, remember, we're going to do exactly the same thing we did before. The minor 1 with a little color tone, that 9th. The flatted 6th, major. The 2 ends up being a half diminished, or a minor 7 flat 5. The 5, add the sharp 9 on it. Ooh, let's see what this one sounds like. Very interesting sounds as we're going back and forth between these. Hey, we've down 10. We got 10 more to go. All right. Whew. Another way that we can do it is, if you look at number 11, page 6, we can approach, I'm just going to approach every chord by a half step above it. What if I did the 1 and the 6 and the 2 and the 5, and I approached everything from a half step above it? Okay? And I'm going to start on a B flat. We're going to switch the key of B flat. Start off with a B flat 7. So the 6 would be a G, but in between the B flat and the G, I'm going to go a half step above the G. And then we're going to the 2, which is a C7, so I'm going to go a half step above it. We're going to the 5, so I'm going to go a half step above it. And then I eventually end back up on the 1, and that sounds like this. I'm just chaining together all these things. Let me play it finger style. That's a lot of how a bass player would play. Approaching every note by a half step above. If I throw some chords on it. What if I add some other notes just to make a melody? Take a look at number 12. All right, we've got, we're still in B flat, and we're going to do a 1, 6, 2, 5 with some added color tones voiced around there. I thought, I've been doing all these low voicings, I thought I'd throw some high ones. B flat 13th, just a 1 chord with some color tones on it. A G augmented 7th with a sharp 9. Woo! That's a great chord. Do you see how it's still functioning as the 6 is just a 6 with a lot of good stuff on it? C minor 7th. Hey, look at that. All 3 of these have had that B flat as a common tone at the top. Then I have a F 13th. Hey, that's the same shape as the G augmented sharp 9, isn't it? In jazz, especially that shape, you can use it for all kinds of different purposes. So that one, number 12, sounds like... If I add some color tones... All I did was go... Now, I know this is, for some of you, this may be a little bit advanced in that. We've done so many lessons on the beginner, intermediate end of things. For jazz, it kind of gets a little bit more advanced. So don't let that scare you. Let that challenge you to learn. You don't have to learn all of them. Just learn a couple new forms. See if you can grab a couple of these and see how it adds some jazzy sounds to your playing. All right, hey, 13, this is a fun one. This is I'll play it for you first, and then I'll try and explain it. Okay, starts out with a B flat 7, and then look, if I just take this and just scoot it back a half step, these 3 notes, scoot it back a half step, but I keep that B flat as the highest note. Hey, if I scoot these back 1 more, keep that B flat as the highest note, then back and forth, and then, do you see what's happening? I'm just going, but I'm keeping the wide, that would sound weird. Yes, it would if I did them all. That would sound weird, but if I keep that melody note, that B flat as the top part of it, Now, if you actually analyzed all those chords, you end up with a B flat seventh, a B flat diminished, A flat ninth, a B flat diminished again, B flat seven. Don't let all that throw you. Don't pay attention to names in this one. Pay attention to the shape. Isn't that a great little progression for that? Hey, 14. Remember how we chained together those dominants that one time? This is all that this is. The D7 is the 5 of the G7, which is the 5 of the C7, which I've turned into a C ninth, just to keep that common tone, which is the 5 of the F, which is going to eventually be the 5 of the B flat 7. Okay, this chaining together of dominants, we call them secondary dominants that chain together these 5 of 5 of 5 of 5 things. Very common things you'll see in a lot of turnarounds. All right, 15. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add a few more, funky colored tones to them. The D7 I made into a D augmented 7 with a sharp 9. The G I turned into a G augmented 7 with a sharp 9. The C ninth, F augmented with a flat 9. So that ends up sounding like this. Creates a very interesting sounding progression. So you have your choices. I can be more tonal and just give a pure 1-6-2-5. If I want to get a little bit more creative, I could maybe add some ornamentation. If I want to go a little bit more outside, I can start to mess with that ornamentation and add some non-chord tones, like the augmented and a sharp 9 and things like that, non-scale tones. And then if I voice it right, still has the highest note as that B flat, C ninth, G flat, and then back to F. So there's some reasoning between all these different voicings, not just random. All right, you ready? We're going to go to the bonus round. Bonus round. You're in the last couple of minutes. Here we're going to hit the bonus round. We're going for number 16. See if you can make it number 16 through 20. I've taught you a lot of things in the last few minutes. It's about to get crazy. All right, you ready? Number 16. We're going to switch the key of E flat just for another key to go through. All right, so we have an E flat major 7th. The 6 minor was C minor, and I just turned it into a C minor 11th. Whoa. For the 2, which would be an F minor, I substituted an A flat minor 7th. For the 5, which would be a B flat, I'm substituting a D flat 9. And then it goes up to the E flat major 7th. You just think that doesn't work at all. Listen to it. One of my students at the university came up and said, hey, that's like a backdoor 2-5. And I had never heard that term before, a backdoor 2-5. Sure enough, looked it up. That is a backdoor 2-5, what it's called like that. You hear that in songs like Misty. There it is. There's that A flat minor, D flat, 9th, back to the 1. A backdoor 2-5. Getting at the E flat. Doesn't it give a great sound? Very smooth sort of sound. 17. We're going to use some common tones here. I have an E flat major 9th to start it off with in the key of E flat. I'm going to use I'm going down to the 2, which is an F minor, so I'm going to go a half step above it, and I'm going to play a G flat major 7th, but I'm going to keep that voicing so where the B flat stays as the highest tone. Then I'm going to turn it into an F minor 11th, so I still keep the B flat as the highest tone. Hey, let's approach that 1, that E flat, a half step above, and still keep the E flat as the highest tone, or B flat, as the highest tone. So I end up with a great sounding progression that sounds like this. I've got common tones, I've got a bass line that's moving down. I've got so many great things happening in this one. Ooh, man. Do you see how each one of these is twisting the harmony a different way? Look at number 18. Let's go to a minor example, okay? E flat minor. Well, this is a typical thing you're going to see in minor. I don't have time to explain kind of all the harmony of it, but when I harmonize a major scale, we end up with 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, all that sort of stuff. When I harmonize a minor scale, I end up with 1 minor, 2 minor, 7 flat 5. Flat 3 becomes a major 7th. 4 ends up being minor. 5 ends up being a dominant. 6 ends up being a flatted 6 major 7th, and then 7 usually kind of takes care of itself as a 5, sort of a substitution. So this is a one that goes from that. That sound familiar? Same thing. It's just a typical minor sort of progression, okay? 19, we're on the home stretch. Come on, it's about to get crazy. I substitute, remember how we could substitute a 3 for the 1? Well, in minor, that becomes a flatted 3 major 7. So I'm going to substitute a G flat major with a couple of extra tones, a G flat major 13th for that E flat minor. Our flatted 6th, 2 minors, an F minor 7 flat 5. So I end up with a chord progression that sounds like this. So 2, 3, 4. Creative way to get you down there. Hey, you've made it through all 19. Now let's get to the last one, number 20. We're just going to break every rule here. We're going to go back to E flat major, E flat major 7th. Now, the only thing tying this one together is that each of the chords is the same distance from each other. Each of the roots of the chords are the same distance from each other. E flat, 3 steps up from an E flat is a G flat, 3 steps up from a G flat is an A, 3 steps up from an A is a C, 3 steps up from a C is an E flat. So do you see this one, what ties it together is the relationship of the roots. They're all a pattern away from each other. They're all 3 steps away from each other. G flat, A, C, E flat. Okay, if I switch them down to different octaves, I end up with an E flat, G flat, A, C, E flat. Woo! Let's add some chords to it. There you go, 20 different jazz turnarounds for you to use. I know a lot of the fingerings may be new to you, a lot of the chord forms may be new to you, but it's a good introduction. We could spend a whole class on this. In college, you could spend a whole semester on this. This is just, we're dipping our toe into the wonderful creative world of turnarounds. I hope you've learned a lot. We're going to actually work out these turnarounds where you will play with me in our next session in our guitar workout. So stick around for that. Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Learn all you can. Appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you next time.